I think we're going to get started in the interest of time so that we have enough time for both the guest speaker and for discussion that follows. My name is Joe Horath. I'm the director of the Institute for Policy and Civic Engagement, and I would like to thank everyone so much for coming today to this really important session here at UIC. What do college students gain from civic engagement? We are honored to have here with us today Professor Peter Levine from Tufts University. I'll introduce Peter shortly, but I just want to say real quick, thank you so much, Peter, for your time, for being here. Peter has spent a good part of the day with us. He arrived last night, and we got a great deal of shop talk and advice and lots of other great ideas from Peter during his time here. And so hopefully some of that will also come out in the dialogue and discussion today. I will make a few remarks, and then Peter will talk, and we'll have questions afterward, but I understand from just talking with Peter that he will invite at certain point comments and questions during his talk, and please participate as much as possible, and wherever you see have that inspiration to do so. I do want to say a couple of quick thank yous. Always thank our Chancellor, Paula Allen Mears, for her support for the Institute, our Dean, Dean Michael Pagano, the College of Urban Planning and Public Affairs, which is our home, and all of our campus partners, which I know some are represented by some of you in the room, and as well as those of you who are new to us. We're a fairly new unit on campus, and so we really see this as the start of what we hope is an ongoing dialogue on campus about what this university's role is in preparing civically engaged young people, future leaders in our society. I'd also like to thank a couple of our foundation partners who are in the room, not necessarily IPCEs, but that have been supporters of the university. We have staff from the McCormick Foundation. Thank you for coming today. We know you've supported other civic engagement efforts here on campus, and we're really pleased to see you continue to engage us in dialogue. So thank you as well for coming. A couple of IPCE partners who I'd just like to single out, because Peter Levine, our arrival at the point where we decided to invite Peter here was really due to conversations we had with people on campus that predated the creation of our institute, and I'll talk a little bit about the institute briefly. But certainly the Chicago Civic Leadership Certificate Program staff, Ann Feldman, who's not here today, but Diane Chin and Tom Moss have been really instrumental in that program, and have consulted with me as we've started this new initiative called Institute for Policy and Civic Engagement on campus. So I want to thank them specifically, as well as other research faculty, Meg Haller and Eric Welch, whose initial literature review led us to some of Peter's work as well. As a director of IPCE, Institute for Policy and Civic Engagement, I can't tell you how excited I am about having today's discussion. IPCE's mission is to transform democracy by creating more engaged citizens with more effective leaders. And so we do this by creating opportunities for scholars, concerned citizens, students, and government to participate in public discourse and educational programs on current policy issues and social trends. And we would be here for another hour if I went down the list of everything that we're doing. But I can just highlight a couple of programs. Our Civic Engagement Research Fund and our Civic Engagement Discourse Fund competitions are supporting faculty research and enabling faculty to engage the public in dialogue about policy issues. And there have been events and other dialogues going on campus, many of which you might have noticed have been supported with IPCE funds. Today we are proud to announce Civic Source. You got the little postcard, maybe long postcard, as you were walking in, which we're very proud of. It's just a civic engagement web portal that includes a wide range of policy information, learning modules, blog posts, and opportunities to connect with e-government services, as well as things that we haven't even conceived of yet that we hope will eventually be up there. But we see it as a starting place for information related to civic engagement and learning about civic engagement, and the blend of both of those functions to same virtual space. I'd also like to take a moment to explain why we wanted to have this talk here today at UIC and provide some context for Professor Levine's talk. And I'd like to begin with a couple of stories that sort of illustrate the points that I'm making. In December of 2009, I was invited to facilitate a small community discussion at a coffee shop in the Chatham neighborhood here in Chicago regarding strategies for creating jobs. And the discussion was organized by a resident who had gone to the whitehouse.gov website and was responding to a call by the White House for input on a job strategy, job creation strategy. And residents were, I don't know if anyone hear about this initiative? People were being encouraged to form small groups and have dialogues, develop ideas, and submit those ideas back to the White House directly through its website, which was a fantastic idea, I thought, by the White House. But what struck me about that was it was the first time I had been asked directly by a president for my input on anything. I don't know how many of you get that kind of inquiry. And then another story was while I was preparing for my comments today, I was listening to a live feed yesterday of the Facebook town hall with President Obama, facilitated by Mark Zuckerberg, who's the Facebook CEO, all of 26 years old and a billionaire, and he's interviewing the president in front of millions of people on the internet. Participants who logged into the session through Facebook could watch the video and participate, in theory, right? Shoot your questions in real time to Zuckerberg to ask the president in the room. So, you know, that was another story I wanted to highlight. And then I recently downloaded an application on my BlackBerry, which has become, you know, inseparable from my hand in the last year, and called Visible Vote. And this application allowed me to enter my home address. It pulled up my elected officials from my home address. And then it allows me to browse a list of bills that are before Congress and indicate my vote, how I want my elected official to vote on that bill. And there's different layers of detail you can read about the bill. You can sort of read a summary of it, or you can see the whole thing, all through my phone. And it will include my votes in a report that then gets sent on to elected officials in Congress on a regular basis. This application was created by a former IT security expert who said he just wanted to develop something that would help him get his voice heard, which I thought was, he's created this amazing tool for that simple goal. And I'm sure we've all heard about the role that social media played in the revolution in Europe and continues to play in other countries in the Middle East and North Africa. My point is that these stories represent interesting trends. Trends like government using technology to seek input directly from citizens, the potential organizing power of social media, or even just a thirst by otherwise frustrated individuals just looking to get their voice heard, and they're using this technology in this space. However, even with these amazing forms of technology and the access and the connectedness that they provide for us, there's really the true potential of these tools and these new spaces of democracy and never be fully realized if we aren't also thinking about how we prepare people to engage in those spaces. And even the old spaces of voting and advocacy movements and social movements. And I don't know if they're old spaces, but I'm using that language to distinguish them from these new spaces. And so that's really one reason why we're here today, is to talk about what needs to be done to prepare folks to engage in that new space, and to begin a conversation about what universities can do, and specifically this university can do. And then another reason why we're here, I posit, is that to begin to develop a shared understanding of this notion of civic engagement, which in some ways has become a bit of a buzzword. I think it's our responsibility to develop a shared understanding of it so we all know what we're talking about and what it means to us here, and as well to our partners when we on the outside world. And that's really the point at which we learned of Peter Levine's work, and in his book, The Future of Democracy, after sifting through various definitions and quite a lengthy discussion about what civic engagement is, he pointed out some critical things, but I think the critical aspect of his definition was that an actor, whatever action they're taking in the public realm, is paying appropriate attention to the consequences of his behavior or her behavior for the underlying political system. So this means whatever you are doing, voting, participating in an advocacy group or social movement or door-to-door campaigning or fundraising or whatever it is, you have some understanding of, first, what your own opinion is related to that issue, right? You take a stand on it. And secondly, what your action means related to that issue. And I think that's what we really need to be striving for, this sort of consciousness about your role and intentionality about your role in the public sphere. I would paraphrase it as conscious commitment to purpose is part of our job here at an urban engaged university. So with those thoughts, I'll turn to our speaker, Peter Levine. Professor Levine is the director of CIRCLE, the Center for Information and Research on Civic Learning and Engagement, and research director of Tufts University, Jonathan Tisch College of Citizenship and Public Service. From 1993 until 2008, he was a research scholar at the Institute for Philosophy and Public Policy at University of Maryland School of Public Policy. He's the author of The Future of Democracy, Developing the Next Generation of American Citizens, which is the text I mentioned earlier. Reforming Humanities, Literature and Ethics from Dante to Modern Times is another one of his books. 3 other scholarly books on philosophy and politics, and also a novel, which I didn't seem to have the title of your novel in my bio, but he's a novel there. He also co-edited the Deliberative Democracy Handbook, which, as we go forward with these kind of dialogues, I'd like to make deliberative democracy another basis for another conversation that we have possibly in the fall. He co-organized the writing of Civic Mission of Schools, a report released by Carnegie Corporation of New York and CIRCLE in 2003 that led to a national advocacy campaign. He serves on numerous boards, including, and steering committees, including America Speaks, Street Law, Newspaper Association of America Foundation, and a number of others, including the Deliberative Democracy Consortium. So on that note, please applause to welcome our guest speaker, Peter Levine.
Thanks, Joe. That was interesting. I enjoyed that, and thanks for introducing me. And thanks to everybody for the work you do and for coming together. As I was saying to someone over here, I really should just not talk, because what you should actually do is meet each other and find out what work you do. And so I should just say civic engagement is really good, and sit down and have you do some kind of interactive thing. But I will talk, although I'll control myself and not talk for too long. But I've learned a lot. We were talking, Joe mentioned the shop talk, and really what was happening was I was learning about the incredibly ambitious and impressive work of the center itself, but it's so networked into other things that I was learning a lot about UIC. So I'm very inspired. I'm also inspired by Jane Addams' house. I think I had a vague idea it was going to be here. Hull House. I think I had a vague idea it was going to be here, but I wasn't really prepared for that, and that's actually quite meaningful for me. I'd say she's my favorite American. So we're going to go visit it after. Another reason for me to not talk for too long, so I can go see Jane Addams' Hull House. You can all come along if you want. Let me start by reading a very short quote, just a few words really, and if you have heard this quote before, raise your hand. Quote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful and committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Okay, now keep your hands, leave your hands up there. Keep them, they stay up if you know who wrote it, who said it.